Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Democracy First, our virtual town hall where diverse, civic minded people from across the globe gather Monday through Friday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time to discuss current events, legislation, civics, and politics, and the effect they're having on our democracy. A 2-century-old work in progress, and we gather here to continue the work, making good trouble. We welcome new voices and treasure the old in this conversational roundtable where we strive for a safe, welcoming space that is informative and inspiring because it's fact based and solution oriented. We do honor a few rules of etiquette. We understand that we can agree to disagree without being disrespectful. We can attack arguments or ideas without attacking people. We do raise our hands to speak and mute our mic when we're not. And this is for sound quality and to be respectful of the other people that are speaking so that they are able to do so without interruptions. A reminder, it is a daytime recorded space, so please keep this in mind with the personal information that you share and the language that you use. Otherwise, don't be shy. Please request the mic, and if this is your first time here, use the microphone icon over to your far left. Once you're brought up to speaker, use the heart icon over to the right, and you'll get a panel of emojis, and that hand to the far right is how you raise your hand. You'll be called on to join us in the conversation, and we do look forward to it. Every day it is different. I am kind of awaiting my co host here for a few minutes. So I'm going to send out some invites and put a few things up in the nest that have come across my radar as far as news is concerned today. So, um, again, thank you guys for being here. Please do share and retweet the space. How are you this morning? Thank you for coming up to speak. I hope you're having a great day. What's on your mind today?
Well, I started off a little crabby this morning, but I'm in a better mood now. So,
Oh my, what happened?
oh, I just,
Just
Twitter
not a good
Twitter
day?
drama. Yeah, a
Oh,
little Twitter drama. So, but I'm over it now.
okay.
I just saw a great article. It was just written and released by the Union of Concerned Scientists about the after effects of the Virginia versus EPA. So they're talking about, the impacts of, pollution. And, we've been talking about environmental justice. So I'm going to pop that up in the nest after I make a tweet. But, all ties into, moving forward, um, having government that protects local interests, water, and all of that. I read also that each year there's 140 accidents at facilities that release chemicals into the environment. So a lot of the times you hear these people saying they're libertarians and they want less regulation. What they don't talk about is the important regulation that can save our lives, the regulation in our cars, our homes, the devices that everything. So we have to be extra
Right. It's
careful
just
about what they start talking about, and this is one of them: is how we protect people from these kind of manufacturing facilities. So I'll toss it up there. I see Eugene's in, so hey, Eugene.
yeah.
Good morning.
Thanks, Graham, for helping me out and also sharing some very important knowledge with us. I put a little cartoon in the jumbotron that Senator Whitehouse shared that I thought was appropriate. And another bit of news regarding the immigration stunt that DeSantis pulled and how the lawsuit that is being done by the immigrants, they have increased the reward for the lady that was part of that whole scheme. So I think that's interesting and something for us to keep our eyes on. So, welcome, Eugene. How are you this morning?
Oh,
Hello
I'm
again.
doing good. I like was kept trying to get in, kept trying to get in, and it wouldn't let me in, and wouldn't let me in, and then finally let me in. I think
Twitter,
Twitter's.
yeah, Twitter just does not want us to be great. I think that they are doing a lot of things. And, so I yeah. Oh, I'm glad you finally got here. But I appreciate that Graham was able to help, like I said, get the conversation started, always with some wonderful news that ties back to science. And I know that you and I briefly had talked about something that I put in the nest that you wanted to kind of talk about a little bit. But Graham, you made me think about when you talked about the tie-ins to regulation and science and environment. This goes back to um, again, here in Tennessee, but I know it is in many parts of the country where legislation is being passed that actually prevents the citizens of that community from being able to have a say about where these companies and infrastructure things that could pose potential harm to the environment and certainly the people in that surrounding area a great deal of harm. And here in Tennessee, they passed legislation that actually takes the voice away of people and basically gives it to some of these fossil fuel companies. And that is just not right. It's not democracy, and it is not good for, you know, to help address the climate issues that we are facing. And then Marsha Blackburn had the nerve to put out a tweet yesterday about how the Democrats, didn't do anything to help rid us of our dependency um, on petroleum or some nonsense. And like I said, she's doing this while she knows that, her state governor is actually helping to make the situation worse. But anyway, so Eugene, what is on your mind today and how are you doing?
So that you had posted earlier this morning. So we have a candidate here. His name's Joe Kent, and he's running over in the district where Vancouver, Washington is, right across from Portland, Oregon. And this is where, like all these white supremacists, were flooding down into Portland every time that they were having a Black Lives Matter or even the mothers protesting. These guys were down there stirring stuff up. And then they would run back across the border here in Washington. Well, they dropped this guy, Joe Kent, in there, and Joe Kent is a CIA trained op. I mean, he worked for the CIA over in Afghanistan. That's what he did. These guys are really good at inserting themselves and running ops. That's what they do. They're trained in propaganda. Well, D posts this story about this Perla woman who was also trained by the CIA in propaganda ops. Like, this is what they do. I am really I'm starting to get a little alarmed at all these CIA ops that are popping up in our political spectrum, running ops in our politics. Like, there's starting to be a pattern here, and I don't like it, and I think we need to pay attention to it. But that's my big worry. Otherwise, like, I'm having a great day.
Yeah. But don't forget that it was only a few
Well,
weeks ago that the FBI arrested a foreign agent who had been working ops, active ops, since I want to say 2015. And they had done things in Florida with a church there, the
yeah.
Uhuru, and then they did something with an organization in Atlanta and one in California, and they even worked out something for the organization in Atlanta to be paid to go to California to actually storm the governor's office. I'll have to see if I can dig and find that article.
Remember, these were all trained under this Mike Pompeo, right? These guys all of a sudden start popping up after him. I mean, and that's why when Mike Pompeo started talking about entering politics, I mean, I probably should have lost my account for some of the stuff I said, because I'm really big about when you're trained in that kind of warfare, you have no business being released on the citizens of this country with your personal views, right? Like you've been trained in things that like I don't want to go too far into it, but it's really serious training. I mean, it's a breakdown buildup that like if you do it wrong, you got a zealous nut on your hand, and that's what I'm seeing come out of this. I mean, Mike Pompeo like palling around with Michael Flynn and saying we're all going to believe in their version of Jesus. I mean, their version of Jesus has got some mind control games built into it.
And there you brought us back to, kind of a key topic, how they have subverted religion to subvert democracy, you know, and, recreate some kind of Christo fascist, I don't know, Mike Pompeo's ideology. I think it's still kind of wacky and
Pentecostal,
out there.
Pentecostal.
Okay, but I know he has this ideology where, like things are, going to end at a certain time, and thing destiny, and tying that into political events and things. I can't remember because I try to block some of that stuff out when I come across it, but I just know he has some really extreme views, and he's injected them into, his politics. But I also see a little of Flynn operating here too, because, don't
Yeah.
forget that he too worked in, CIA operations or whatever as well. And, while he
He
has,
was more
lost.
military focused. Pompeo was a straight up CIA op guy.
Hmm. I mean, they all worked in tandem. Graham has his hand up. Go ahead. And thank you guys for being here. I don't know if Twitter is glitching or, what. People are busy
Hey
today.
D,
I understand.
I want to do one little news thing. I'm not going to put it up in the jumbotron because I don't really know this guy, but what he is saying is former Oath Keeper testified that Stuart Rhodes informed him that he was in contact with the Secret Service agent. Um, So I just like I want to go to Alex Jones real quick on this. Alex Jones, like after the whole thing happened, he got on camera and said, he had been in contact with a Secret Service agent in coordination. He was to lead the people down to the Capitol, and from there he left. Right, like that was his testimony in front of the camera. I mean, like he did this. You can go Google it. It was right after the 1/6. I mean, we've got a lot of Secret Service agents that were coordinating with these people, or was it just one? I don't know, but there's just a lot of points of contact. I mean, the Oath Keepers in Secret Service. Are you kidding me? That's all I got.
Oh, yeah, and then that's the other thing too. I need to put that article up there because they had a wreck with Madam Vice President in the car, and they tried to cover that up and say it was mechanical failure. So I have that article, and then I also had to gather, Marcia again because she was trying to make fun of um, Vice President Harris for getting the countries wrong when she was down there. And I'm like, really? When the guy that you're rooting for, talks openly about love letters, exchanging love letters with this guy, and very likely created
the,
espionage just to keep that shit. So,
the audacity of these people is
I
just
mean,
like
it's
it's
just
mind boggling sometimes.
and
Like
and
really?
it's like I don't know if they're that crazy or they think we're crazy because it's beyond. We need a new word for
It's a
hypocrisy.
form of gaslighting is what it is.
For sure, it is. Yes.
It's the whole, chocolate all over your face and just staring you straight in the face and going, I don't what chocolate, you
Mhm.
know? I mean, it's that.
Yep. Well, we have Renee up, and I'm sure she has a lovely take on it. So let's hear from you, Renee. How are you today?
Oh, hey. I was just I was actually just reading a feed. So I'm following I told y'all to watch this Oath Keepers trial. Let me see. There's a lady named Brandy Buckman, Brandy with an I, and she is. I'm following her tweets right now because I think the court is still on a break, but she's live tweeting about the this trial. So I told y'all it was gonna be juicy. There's a lot of little tidbits dropping because the Secret Service stuff is the one that people are getting excited about, but um, there's bound to be some kind of links to Trump that may even kind of start to surface today. All of this that's gonna come up at this one is the connections to the very top of the food chain are, they're going to be, I think, kind of explosive because this is the conspiracy part, and so I'm very, very intrigued, and I'm watching it go down. And like I said, I'm following Brandy Buckman. If you guys want to check out her feed, maybe like in about a half an hour, she'll be back to live tweeting, and you'll get to see what some of the stuff is saying. Because while I mean, the stuff that bleeds out into the media is fascinating. It's also the stuff that's like sensational, that they know is going to catch your attention, and sometimes there are other details that come out that are just as important, so you get to gauge for yourself if you're following along with a transcript. So there's that. Since you brought it up, and I came up here to talk about Georgia, but before I do that, I just want to give a shout out to Shauna and team. You guys did a great spaces yesterday, so for everyone who was able to join, and if you weren't able to join, I know a lot of people retweeted your space, so you guys, it's still recorded. There's still time to listen. I think there was like 300 to 400 people in the room, which is really great for an evening, and the candidates seem really happy to be there. I saw a lot of them retweeting, the space, and how happy they were to be there. And a lot of them, some of them even follow me, and I didn't speak. So I think they were just following folks in the room, which is great. And I don't know. I looked at some of their races while they were talking, and I think that the exposure just to kind of get these folks out is really good, because we had been kind of like going back and forth and having a space just about southern states, and a lot of these candidates were from the south, so it was just great to kind of hear from them, and I hope that they just continue, to continue to fight regardless, but it was really great to kind of to see that camaraderie, and to be able to host a place where they could kind of talk to each other and we could hear from them all at once. So like I said, really big shout out to you and to your team, and um I'm always really proud of the work that everybody does, but I'm really glad that you were able to get this kind of spotlight for your efforts, because you should. So I just want to, again, lift you and thank you for that, holding that space. And then, yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about Georgia, because
Hey,
Georgia is on my mind. Yeah.
Renee, before you go into Georgia, can you give me the at of you said Brandy Buckman?
Brandy Buckman's at is it's Brandy, so Brandi, and then underscore Buckman, Buchman.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And so yeah, George is on my mind, like Ray Charles said, and I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna be done. Um, I know that folks again think that none of these voters care about all of this stuff coming out um about Walker, but listen, it is not completely true that none of these people care, okay? Like, yeah, they're Republican, they're going to vote Republican, but what Republicans do when they get disappointed, they don't vote for the opposition, they stay home. That's usually what happens. And I do not go by
Dale
what
Oates.
yeah, I don't go by what Republicans do. I watch what they say. I watch what they do. So for Raphael, for Herschel Walker to come out with that crazy little video he did where he's like, "I'm a changed man and the Lord has forgiven me," that shows you, if they didn't think that they had to worry about some of his religious support, he would not have done that video. If they didn't think that there were some people that were questioning what's going on with him, He wouldn't be doing this. He's doing a media tour right now, like Beyonce. Okay, if they
his
didn't think,
his redemption tour.
yeah, right. If they didn't think that they needed to do some damage control, they would not be doing it. Why? Because anybody in their right mind knows that he should shut up right now. Right? That's what really he should be doing, because his talking makes everything worse, because he keeps lying. Like, the man cannot stop lying. So it's
And
like,
it's so hilarious because every time he lies, they respond and they react to that and try to get messaging out. And then somebody comes and busts up his lie, like they were
yes.
using the anonymous source, and then they tried to drag that person. And she said, "Whoa, whoa, hold up! I'm the person, and I also have a child with him.
Yeah, that
So
I mean, that
shut
was
up."
just that last night. I tweeted, because I was just like, dude, you got to be kidding me right now. Like, it's one thing to say you don't know somebody, but you had another baby with her, dog, so you know her. Like, he is that dude, man. So that's what I'm saying. If you have a candidate like that, if you're working for his team and you have a candidate like that, you do not want him to talk, and you definitely don't want Herschel to talk, because Herschel is, I'm sorry, he's not he's not bright. And that's the kindest way I can say it. So you don't want him talking anyway. But you really don't want him talking about this, because he lies, and he lied to them. He lied to his own campaign team. That's like
And that's
lying
the
to your
thing.
attorney.
He keeps doing it, and they keep responding to it thinking that they have the worst of it and
Exactly.
they
And
can
they can't.
spin it,
That's
and
what I'm
then
saying. Right. That's what I'm saying. So he's not you, and this is what's interesting about him, is that people are like, well, they can control him. Well, yeah, sure they can, but he's a menace even to them, because he's not honest with them. So he's not easy to control, because he's out of control. So if he's not getting in the Senate, but if he were to have a Senate office, not only would he not control it, they would get that dude out of there. They would get him out of there as soon as they could, because you can't manage a guy like that. Look at what
they
they're
would use one
already.
of his scandals that they have protected him from to drag him out.
Exactly. If Mitch McConnell had his pick, they would have chosen somebody that would have fallen in line. Herschel is he's a wild card. I don't care what anybody says. And again, we know who Republicans are. They close rank, they fall in line better than any group we've seen in history. So I'm not saying that they won't still do that, but I am saying that, like, it's not that simple, and you have to watch. I always watch what they respond to, because that's how you can tell what they're concerned about. Period. It's because if they don't have to say anything, they ignore it. Just like all of the times when you have those shootings that happen, you know what I mean? And sometimes they're loud about Second Amendment, and sometimes they make it political, and other times they don't. One really good example of it was, the remember that couple, the Crumleys, who left their little boy, you
Mhm.
know, and tried to make it over to Canada while he was sitting in a jail cell after, after he shot people up at his school, and they had basically given him weapons, or made him his access to weapons very easy. Well, I was telling people on my timeline, and people were like thinking I was crazy. I was just like, well, I don't think Republicans are going to politicize this, because their whole thing about guns is that you're supposed to be a responsible gun owner. So, and this is completely irresponsible. Plus, these people tried to flee the country. I was like, they're still going to defend the Second Amendment in light of this incident, but I don't see them politicizing it like they did with that Kyle Rittenhouse or whatever. And I had people arguing me like, nah, that's not it. And I'm like, you again,
And
there's
see, he was in
nuance
the
to this.
midst of a Black Lives Matter march, so
Right.
it was like
Exactly.
it was like the cherry on top they needed.
Exactly. He was the perfect candidate. And this is what I'm saying. There is a method to their evil. And Herschel Walker is an affront to that, just like Trump was. They didn't want to go with Trump, because they knew they couldn't manage him. And then it didn't matter, because he stirred up the people, he won the nomination, and they fell in line. So it is what it is. But it doesn't mean that that's their pick. And if all of this stuff started coming out like a month or so ago, he might be able to escape it, but it's timing too. We've got weeks to go before people start voting. So this is still going to be on people's minds. And if more shoes are going to drop, like, I'm sorry, there's no way people aren't going to think about it. Now, will enough people think about it or stay at home or whatever to make a difference? Probably not. I don't know. But the thing is, we don't know. And so
Right.
that's all
But
I want people to consider. You know what I mean? Is that there are things that are at play that are not as simple as we kind of think that they are. And I say that knowing full well just who these people are. You know what I mean? Because this is just going to get messier. And the media, we have the media to thank because they're going to continue, especially if that boy keeps tweeting. Oh my God. We have we can thank the media for continuing because they're going to keep talking about
yeah,
it
it's
because it's so
sensational. It's
messy.
just
Exactly. Yep.
right up their alley. And
Yep.
we have someone who is from Georgia who is in here. So I thank you for kind of ending with that. And I pretty much understand what you're saying. And I can agree with those, those sentiments, that way of looking at it, because, they just need a vehicle.
Yeah.
He's handy right now, but
Exactly. Exactly. And we'll see. I mean, again, I could be wrong, but we'll see. But I'm gonna keep hoping and in the light of all of this craziness. And thanks for letting me chat. I'm gonna move to listener. Bye everybody.
well, thank you. You're welcome to come back anytime. We love having your voice in the conversation and getting your perspective and your humor added to it. So, always love to have you. Thank you so much. So, Dr. C, Kevin, I'm going to move, like I said, I'm going to move a little ahead because I know this is someone who is in Atlanta, and let them speak, and then I'll go with Kevin. And thank you guys for being here. And Shauna, I was waiting for you to get here. So whenever you have a moment, I would like for you to come up so we can continue to give you those kudos, because it was an excellent room last night. I'm telling you, it was very, very engaging. So kudos to you. So Dr. C, what's going on in Georgia?
Hi, Miss D. First, let me give a shout out to Eugene. My voice may sound familiar. Um, it's the ghost of Dr. Abram. Uh, he,
Oh,
I didn't want to say, I wanted you to say, because I was like, I don't know what he's trying to do here. I don't want you to, like, you and Eugene can relate. I don't want you getting kicked off.
yeah,
Okay,
they
so
got me,
I got you
Eugene.
followed, brother.
so, yeah, so this whole thing with being here in Georgia, and I just wanted to add another piece. I appreciate Renee and her commentary on this whole thing. But I wanted to add another piece to it with regards to Herschel Walker. I would encourage everyone to at least Google dissociative identity disorder. Um, you know, it's my understanding that Herschel Walker has had this diagnosis for many years. And if you're not familiar with it, it used to be called multiple personality disorder. It is marked by a lot of things that you know aren't necessarily disqualifying for a person. I don't want to say that someone with a mental health diagnosis is not capable or disqualified, but there are symptoms of this particular diagnosis which can especially make someone like Herschel Walker, who is seeking to wield the reins of power in the United States Senate, particularly troubling, as you all have highlighted, as someone who can be manipulated and controlled. Um, what's going on with him now? I when I saw his son the other day, literally, as ratchet as the guy has been, my heart went out to him because I work with families, with children, and I've seen some of um, the harm that can be done to people, which is why it is so um, disheartening and disgusting that these people are using Herschel Walker in this manner. And so I came up to say that I'm still having conversations with people here in my local area. And of course, they were talking about Herschel Walker here, just in my neighborhood. Some people who you would consider on the fence, who will be voting. And I was just sharing with them just this general information, and they had no idea. And while they could empathize with me, they was like, well, that doesn't sound like a guy who could do the job the way we need them to do the job. I said, well, that's for you to decide because you're your own person, you're your own voter, and that sort of thing. But it is relevant to know uh, because there's so much at stake, not only here in the state of Georgia, but nationally. And so I just wanted to share, I guess, my testimonial of continuing to do the grassroots work and having these conversations, these barbershop style conversations, in my local community with folks who admitted that they don't, typically don't vote in the midterms, but they are going to be voting here um, in the next couple of weeks. And this is here in what would be considered rural Georgia now, just outside of Atlanta. But these are folks who are going to be voting and who have gotten informed. So again, I guess it's also not only a kudos to Eugene, but kudos to you and Eugene D, and to everyone who's in this space who continues to do the work and to give information. Y'all, I know there are a bunch of idiots out here. That's how I got sent to the gulags this morning. Even though it's Twitter, their support people are on some bull anyway. uh, but I know it's frustrating. I know it can be demoralizing even, but I'm telling you, continue doing what you're doing. That rational people, sane people are listening, and even the more irrational people, they may not listen, they may not come off as listening, but they're hearing you. And so if you can just give information that would allow somebody to try to resolve that dissonance that they're feeling as they go to vote. You know what? I'm a Republican through and through, but I shouldn't be voting for this guy, right? Then that's going to help the country, and that's where I'm coming from. So I just wanted to share that, and to also plug. This is Breast Cancer Awareness Week. My wife's a survivor. Um, Big ups to everybody out there who's a survivor as well. Thank y'all.
Hey, Doctor A, I've said a couple times in this space, I'm really becoming disturbed. There's laws protecting people with mental illness, right, from being
Yes.
exploited in this country. And what
Yes.
I see is the Republican Party as a whole has begun exploiting. And Herschel Walker is not the only one. I would contend that Marjorie Taylor Greene, I mean, she's really unstable. I mean, some of the tricks things that she said and done, but Herschel Walker is a clear example of this, right?
Yes.
They're using it for a lot of different reasons. A lot. There's a lot of different reasons that they would do something like that. But the fact is, it's exploitation of somebody with a mental illness, and there are laws in this country that says you can't do that.
You're spot on, Eugene. And I'm probably going to do a little bit of digging. This is probably also why a lot you haven't heard much about Herschel Walker's mental health background. And I don't like to even, if it weren't for this, I wouldn't be talking about the guy's mental health background. It's just not ethical on my part. But it's relevant because of the manner in which he's being used. And those of us who are in my field, we know what's going on, and there's got to be some way to, would we be able to pin it on a person for literally abuse, which is what I think it is? I have no idea, but I think it is something worth looking into. But thanks for bringing that up.
You're welcome. I've been saying this for a while. I don't think that it's just Herschel Walker that they're doing this with. When you have somebody that you can easily, I think they tried to do it with Trump and it blew up on him, right? Um, but I just, and I said from day one, that guy's mentally ill, like that's just not normal behavior from a human being. That some of this narcissistic behavior I'd see from him. But Herschel Walker, I think, makes a really good case of exploitation of mental illness. I mean, even his own family is coming out and saying, "Look at like everything he's saying, like he's not in reality. Stop this."
Yeah, and he's not alone. I mean, we have a large segment of the population, and it seems like there are several family members that are coming out and speaking about some of their family, their relatives who are running for public office, who, have some cognitive dissonance, like, Jewish people, running, as MAGAs and, just kind of all over the place. But thank you so much for being here. I'm glad that whatever happened, you were still able to get back in the conversation and the discourse to help save our democracy. And I think it's an important conversation to have, mental health in general. But there was a whole account created because of Trump and his mental health issues, like Duty to Warn, and I think they wrote a book about it. It's a real issue. So I think it's a conversation we're going to be having for a while, because he's not alone, and they tend to have a particular, penchant for, exploiting people with conditions such as that. But we do have.
And I also want to say real quick, Dr. A, that like I expect people to like. There's going to be a lot more accounts getting lost here pretty quick. Twitter's really like getting serious about what can and cannot be said politically. Part of it, I actually agree with part of it, because the other side doesn't know how to uh, uh, not exaggerate. But I think part of it too is it ends up getting some of us targeted that probably would never be targeted in the first place. I'm not talking to them most of the time. I'm talking to my own people.
Yeah, yeah. I'll just say this. I referred to someone after being told I was on knee pads for Democrats. Of course, I responded with the same energy and called someone a call girl for Breitbart banning call girl, and that's what did it apparently. So yeah, y'all be careful out there.
Yeah,
I'll
well,
own that one and be proud of it. Actually,
well, Dana DeLoach is out there calling people skanks and what have you. So,
yeah.
anyway, but we do have a few hands up. Let's get with those. Kevin, Gambit, and Mark. I think I lost Mark, but I'll try to get him back. So we'll go with Graham until I can get Mark back. Kevin, how are you today?
I'm fine. How are you today?
Good,
How's my
thank you.
brother? How's my brother Eugene doing?
I'm doing good. Behave yourself today, please.
No, I refuse. It's all good trouble.
Yeah, whatever.
So, yeah, whatever. So, anyhow, uh, what was brought up by, I believe it was Shauna earlier, that she said about, the Republicans, just don't give a damn about anything anymore. Well, it's true. I mean, look at it. I mean, they don't, massage around the edges. They don't tiptoe through the tulips. They're never going to do that. They're always going to, go out there and never avoid the topics that are cyanide to their candidates or their active representatives or their senators. I mean, hell no. I mean, they're just going to go and continue to goose step through the manure piles, even if those piles are up to their eyeballs. Because why? They just don't care. Just don't give a damn. I mean, hey, our candidate paid for an abortion, but his platform is anti-abortion. Who cares? Our candidate killed animals during his time in the research field, but claims to be an ethical position. Who cares? Our candidate claims to be all about made in the USA, but they close their company's factories and they ship them to China, and they they kill all their employees over here, by taking away their jobs. Who cares? Look at, they're ethically bankrupt. They don't care about anything except for one thing only, and that was, we need the
Control.
seat in the Senate or the House. That's it. That's all they care about. I mean, if Herschel would get elected, I mean, who's going to be controlling his office? Sure as hell ain't going to be him. It's going to be the handlers that they put before him to say, look, these are the people we want in your office, and those are the people I'd be doing the day-to-day for him. Not him. No way. No way.
Well, thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that. And it's all true. And Tip has come up. I'm glad that she joined us today. I don't know. Are you working, Tiff? If so, I can
No, you
just
can
move
go
you.
ahead. I'm good. I can wait.
Okay. Well, good. I'm glad you were here today, and felt like joining into the conversation. So I know you experienced the recent loss, and our prayers and thoughts go out to you and your family.
Thank you.
So, all right. So, Gamut is up next, then Mark, Graham, and Tiff.
Good afternoon. I just got a few minutes before I have to head out. But first, um, if you want to have a good time, go into your trending topics. Don't use a hashtag, but search for "bad for New Mexico." You'll have a good time. Everybody's searching Mark Ronchetti. But speaking of Mark Ronchetti, um, next in the list of white supremacists that have come down to help out our governor and our CD2 rep, Ted Cruz was here this week. Glenn Youngkin was here this week. Um, so yeah, that happened. And also while I was doing
You poor thing.
do what?
I just said, you poor thing.
Yeah, so that's the fun stuff that we're dealing with, along with the fact that right now it is balloon fiesta. So there's a lot of people, not just from out of town or out of state, but they come from all over the world. It's the 50th International Balloon Fiesta, biggest hot air balloon festival in the world. Um, yeah, and that's happening while everybody's here. Super fun. Um, and then also one other thing that I noticed while I was doing actually research for an English class project, um, whoever our next governor is going to get to appoint during their term 4 people to the Board of Regents for the University of New Mexico. So, as if I needed one more reason to vote to re-elect Governor Lujan Grisham, but there it is.
I'm just thankful that you're smart enough to recognize all the repercussions and the reasons to vote. And I know that you are, having conversations with people in your circle about it. But I love that you can come in and share with us, sometimes before you have to rush off to work, and let us know what's going on there and the ways in which people that are trying to run for office there are not doing so because they care about the people. And they got some shady folks, and your state is one of the few that was able to get someone kicked out of the political arena forever because of their involvement in the insurrection. So I hope that he is the beginning of many. So thanks so much. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add today?
No, not today. I just wanted to have some updates there that things are going on. We're not. I mean, I know that Georgia's a big state, Pennsylvania's a big state, and all these Senate races and everything, but governors and House races are also important. And, you know, I've made many statements over, helping get Michelle Lujan Grisham reelected, getting Gabe Vasquez elected to replace Yvette Harrell. Oh, who, by the way, voted down all the FEMA funding, which includes also um, funding for the people that were affected by the Calf Canyon fire, aka the biggest forest fire in the history of New Mexico. So, yeah, she voted that down.
And it's not even surprising anymore, but we do need to make note of it and call people's attention to it, because a lot of times people are walking around just listening to the clips of these ads, and a few news stories that may cycle up to the top about what these candidates are doing, or just quoting what they say, which is most of the time totally opposite of what they're doing and how they're voting. So thank you for
I would
coming
say
in.
I would say that the reason I really like hearing reports about New Mexico, for me, it's a bellwether state, right? Like it kind of tells me where for on the Democrat side of like, how well they're doing. It just since I've been paying attention, it seems like, you know, it happens to be right in the center of the U.S., right? So I think it has this ability to kind of tell us, you know, because it is one of those places that, like, you know, it can go either way there at any moment in New Mexico, and if you're not fighting for democracy there, like, it's going to go the other way. So for me, it's a real interesting bellwether state in that respect.
All right. Well, thanks, Gamut. I hope the rest of your day is awesome. And again, thank you so very much for coming in and joining in the conversation for a little while today. We're always happy to have you here. So, up next, we've got Mark and then Graham and Tiff.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Dee and Eugene. Just wanted to mention I've stuck up in the Jumbotron. The January 6th Select Committee has announced that Thursday, October 13th at 1 p.m. will be their next hearing. And so that's up there. And that's a week from today. So hopefully that also,
Yoo-hoo!
I know, hopefully that benefits Election Day. So anyway, and the other thing with Eugene, you're right. What I found in New Mexico was it doesn't change a person when you move there, but it amplifies their personality. And so if you have any major flaws as far as your character, it really amplifies those things. And it, you know, so if you're really compassionate about things, it amplifies that. So yeah, New Mexico is a really good kind of litmus test for the rest of the country. Anyway, thank you, everybody. Shauna, thank you for last night. An amazing space. And that's it. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Mark, and we appreciate you coming up and joining in the conversation today and sharing with us. So, hope you can stick around. We look forward to hearing more from you today. So, up next, we've got Graham and then Tiff and Kevin.
Can go ahead if
Okay,
she's ready.
great. Thank you. I was going to, yeah, thank you. Go ahead, Tiff. How are you?
Good. How are you? Hey, Eugene and everyone. Hey, and thank
Well,
you, Graham, for letting me go ahead. I appreciate it. Let's see. Where should I begin? I
I
don't
know
even
you have a
know.
lot. Do you remember? Renee tweeted about it, but I sent you a poll about that Bobart thing, and I don't think that we actually talked about it
Oh my
yesterday.
God, Bovert.
If
Oh
you
my
can get to
God.
that, I don't know what else was on
Yeah,
your mind or
I
plate, but
saw it and I was like, "Oh, it's getting close." Like a lot of these races, to be honest, the house races especially in the last week, they've kind of shifted. So even though some of the, they're solid. Like most people believe that, that seat is solid, right? Some would say the same for a couple of others. But what we've seen in the last couple of weeks is that some of these races are now between like 5 to 6 points, which means that, when they're polling, that that's a bit for me when I'm doing my analysis of stuff, anything within 5 points is a toss up. So either way. But if you are 5 points and above, then or like 5 to 7, I would say probably is more of a lean race, and then 7 to 10 is like likely, what either side. So the fact that it's kind of close, I mean, you can't take one poll and just be like, okay, the race is really close. You have to look at an average. But a lot of these house races, to be honest, aren't getting polled, so you don't really know where a lot of them stand. So it's going to be interesting on, the way you would know that is by talking to people on the ground, enthusiasm, kind of seeing what the candidates are doing, who they're doing it with, and then kind of assessing from there. And also how much money they have, right? So I don't know how much money her opponent has, but it is a very red area, but she's also a maniac. So anything is possible that could, some of these people may see that she is too extreme, and he may be moderate enough to, I think it's a he may be moderate enough to be able to, kind of take some of those independent voters and move the needle. Will it be enough? Who knows? So I would say, if you, which was great about Shauna's space last night, because some of those candidates, some of them may never win, in this cycle, but that doesn't mean that they won't win in another cycle. So, sometimes getting your name out there and just kind of, having people know who you are is half of the battle, right? And it also helps to bring in some money. So I appreciated her space last night to be able to do that, because some of those candidates I had never heard of, some I never want to hear from again, and it is what it is. But I did appreciate her for doing that. What I wanted to talk about, I mean, the polling, I'm gonna just tell you guys straight up. And Renee asked me this the other day. She was like, "So is it me or is the polling like crazy?" And I said, "Yes, it is absolutely freaking crazy because they I was just looking at the CNN poll that they did on Nevada, and it's ridiculous, right? They they have Latino voters at like 52% for CCM, which is Catherine Cortez Masto, and then like 30 something for Laxalt. And then it says the margin of error is 12.4%. Why did you even tell us the damn number if the margin of error is that high? We didn't even need to know that. Should have just left it at people of color, because that's what it was, what it showed. I mean, these polls that's why I always look at the data in the poll to kind of see, because if you looked at the top line, you'd be like, oh, that's kind of weird. But it's not when you look at who they're polling and what they're polling. So, and then they split the poll between likely voters and registered voters, which is fine. But the registered voters, are one thing than the likely voters. So you have to kind of pick and choose like what it is that you are really trying to see. But most people don't go that deep into it. They just look at the top line number. Is the person, percentage wise, ahead, below, whatever, and then take that. I personally take the last 5 polls and compare those and kind of see where we are. So I just kind of work my way that way, and because I feel like a lot of these pollsters and people who analyze predictions and things like that, they want to look at every poll from like, okay, I'm sorry, but a June poll is not relevant in October. I mean, unless you're trying to compare what, a Fox poll from August, September, that kind of thing, then maybe you can figure out something. But what somebody thought in August is likely change from now till then, depending on the race. It could be up or down, right? So in the case of, Sherry Beasley, she is rising in her polling. Thank God. Mandela Barnes is losing support. John Fetterman is in some polls he's gaining, some polls he's losing. We really don't even know. That race is crazy. So we know in that race is that Dr. Oz is on the rise. I personally think that John Fetterman's polling is stagnant. It's just kind of stuck where it is. He's at 56% in 55 to 56% in most polls. And I don't know if the polls are really capturing, where that race is really at. That's just going to be my honest opinion. Do I still look at the data? Yes. Do I want him to do more? Absolutely. He is working this week, which is excellent news. So he is yesterday it looked like he was um, in one of those. I was like, I think it's northwest Pennsylvania. I want to say Westmoreland County. So he is trying to do more, which I appreciate. I do think he still needs to go park his little behind in Philly. I saw his wife was in Philly. So it looks like they're getting out and doing a bit more than usual with 5 weeks to go. We'll see. Um, and I'm I put it on my timeline, and I am manifesting a win for Tim Ryan. I know people think that it is far fetched and he cannot win. Ohio's a disaster. You just never know how things can go, but his polling is actually really good, and he can win, more so probably at this point than maybe a Mandela Barnes. So I am going to manifest a win for him and pray that he can pull this off, because he speaks Ohio language, which I do not understand. That's probably one of the weirdest places I've ever been. I've been to multiple places in Ohio, and I've always left feeling like, oh my God, this is one of the most racist places. So if he can do what he got to do and speak to and be the white person whisperer and get all the votes that he needs to be able to pull it off, God bless him. I will gladly take him winning. And I'm still on my 53 pickups. So the 3 pickups that I foresee and hope can happen, and trying to manifest along with my girl Renee, who's going to manifest for all of us to win, is for Sherry Beasley, Mandela Barnes, and I'm sorry, Sherry Beasley, Tim Ryan, and John Fetterman. Hopefully, they can pull it off. Anything extra after that is wonderful. Of course, I will always be rooting for Val Demings, but Lord knows Florida is a mess, and her polling is not that great right now. So, but we did have a hurricane, and things may change in the next few weeks, and people's minds may change. Florida is also a state that polling sucks. So, you just kind of, they don't talk to enough Latinos, they don't talk to enough Black people to know really and truly where things are. No one, I'll just remind people, in 2020, I'm sorry, in 2018, no one thought that Gillum would be the nominee, and he ended up being the nominee. He like surprised everyone. Then he ended up losing, but he only lost by a little bit. So it is what it is. If we all we can do is continue to boost our candidates. I did put that list out of the House candidates that are in competitive seats. Two more were added to that, so I'll post the new one. Florida 27, which is Annette Tadeo, who had run for governor, but then she dropped out. She has now moved into likely category. That was more of a solid seat, and she's moved into likely category of possible. I'm sorry, I think I moved from likely to lean, which is good news. And then there was another one that had moved into that category too. Let me find it. Hold on 1 second and figure out what it is. This was from Cook Political yesterday. They moved some races. Oh, the other one was shockingly Ohio 01, which Christina Bohannon is running in that race, and they moved her from likely to lean. They did move a couple of races into solid. So solid, they moved Florida for 7, which is Karen Green, which somebody told me in my DM, yeah, she's not winning. So I'm just gonna say, okay, she's not winning that race. That is Stephanie Murphy's old district, which they made redder. Is that a word? Yeah, more red, I should say, because of gerrymandering. So thank you, asshole Ron DeSantis. And then 2 races moved into likely GOP, which was Michelle Vallejo in Texas 15. She's more of a lefty. Texas, that ain't gonna work. So that's why she was moved there. And then Josh Harder in California 09, he was moved from lean to likely. So those are kind of the changes. I'm keeping track of them and kind of seeing where things go. But many of our candidates have raised good amounts of money. Next Saturday, we'll get all of the fundraising and know how much people have raised, and we can go from there. But the last thing I want to say, and I promise I'm going to wrap this up, is I'm so annoyed by the way that people are treating Stacey Abrams. I'm back on my Stacey Abrams soapbox because I have seen enough of this nonsense already. I posted a tweet earlier. Renee and I were talking, and I'm just like, I'm really sick of this, because when Kamala was running, she wasn't running per se, but she was, there was a competition for Veep, for the Veep stakes. And people were saying, well, Stacey, she wouldn't be treated the same way that Kamala's treated. And they had all these other things. And we're like, dude, she's not in a position where she is being treated like that, because she doesn't hold any power right now, right? But the minute she's going to be running for something, the minute she's close to gaining a seat or gaining, in an election, they're gonna come for her. And that's exactly what is happening. No Black woman is immune from all of this vitriol nonsense. And especially it's even more frustrating that it's coming from Black men and women too. It's not just Black men. There are women who are contributing to this nonsense and treating her as though she is like she's the bad person. People saying that they're going to vote for Kemp, and that she didn't ask, that they didn't ask for a Black agenda, and she put out one, and it does. What do you want her to do? Do you want her to have an agenda, or do you not want her to have an agenda? Because if she doesn't have an agenda, then the people complain she doesn't have an agenda. If she has an agenda, then it says that she isn't doing enough. You cannot have it both ways. So I am always going to protect her in that way. Again, she's not somebody that I follow, or she's, obviously I am a Kamala person. I will always have Kamala's back, but that doesn't mean I can't have Stacey's back or Val's back. Or you can support all Black women. And as Shauna said yesterday, we have to support our Black candidates. And while I don't necessarily agree with everything that Mandela Barnes is doing, I'm still rooting for him. I think he needs some media training and he has 5 weeks to get it together. But he needs some help. And that doesn't mean I will never not root for him. I will always root for the Black people who want to do good. Some may not achieve that goal. Some may not do it the way that, that we want them to do. We may not even share the same ideology, but we still support them and we will defend them as long as they are not parroting talking points for freaking white supremacy. And a lot of these people have decided that white supremacy is more fun and more lucrative to them, that they are going to continue to be on their side. And I don't know, I cannot stand sellouts. I don't care if you're Latino, if you're Asian, if you're Black. I do not do freaking sellouts. So I'm sick and tired of it. And all of them, and y'all already know, I'm on my kick. And I apologize in advance if I come off like an asshole, but I am so tired of people not listening to the things that we're saying, because everything that we've said is coming back in the last few weeks of this midterm. We are going to see the all the things that we have predicted to happen will start happening, and they already have begun happening. And I don't like to be an asshole, but I will gladly be one, because I am tired of the nonsense. So if I'm annoying, feel free to mute me, because I am going to go off on tangents. I am frustrated. I am tired, and we are at the end of the road, and I have zero tolerance for nonsense. So y'all have a great day, and I will be here if you have any questions.
Thank you so much for all of the updates and the expanding on the polls. And I feel all of what you said about no time for the nonsense. This is crunch time, and we don't have time to entertain chaos agents and that kind of energy. And thank
I
you
have a
again.
question. I have a
Hmm.
question for her, actually. Do you think that, like, I'm seeing races I didn't think we'd see this close in polls, and good for the Democrat side? Do you think this is just straight up a factor of the abortion issue?
Yes. I mean, I think that definitely plays into it, Eugene. I mean, you are seeing what you're seeing in polls is women are very much for the Democrat candidate, and then you see men are it's starting to become very apparent, right? Men are leaning more towards the Republicans and women are leaning more towards the Democrat. And like literally all of the Senate races, if you look at the polls, that's the way it looks. So there is something happening there, and you can't quantify like support based on abortion, but you can start seeing a trend where you see women are supporting the Democrat candidate more so. And do women usually do that? Yes, but there's something weird happening with men. Like I don't know what's going on. Me and Geechee have noticed this in a lot of the polls. I also can see, there, and but if you look at each individual polls, what people are saying is more important to them is the economy. It is in many of them, like the one that came out today for Nevada, the most important thing for people was like 44% was the economy. So maybe, just maybe, with the economy doing well, jobs, we are in the tail end of, this weird kind of period that we've been in, where, I saw gas today. I hadn't even been out my house like that for 6 days. I haven't driven, but gas went up 20 cents, right? I mean, we had this conversation a few weeks ago about what if gas goes up? Will that change people's minds? And then we get the report yesterday about gas, that Russia and OPEC are going to reduce, productivity. I mean, at this point, I think people will vote based on how they feel about the economy, and maybe people definitely feel better than they did 3 months ago when when gas was $5. Let's hope it doesn't get to that point. Maybe it'll get to $4. I think people can tolerate that. People don't want to pay, I mean, in some places it still is, but here it's 3.59 versus what it was, in June, which was $5. So if we can get it, if we are somewhere in the middle, maybe at 4, people will feel okay. And I think it's also based on states, right? Because some states are higher, like an out west, than it is, on the East Coast, maybe, or where Sean is at in Texas. Because I saw people posting 285, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? Why is gas so different every single state? Maybe that will change
Yeah.
people's minds too, right? So there's a lot of factors, I think, that will go into how people decide to vote. And maybe people are just sick and tired of Republicans lying. That could also be a factor too, right? we're seeing
I
we're
th- I
seeing
think that
we're seeing our reality show, like literally we're seeing a reality show play out in Georgia, right? So people are paying attention, and you're seeing the hypocrisy of Republicans play out in real time, where they're now having to make a decision on, do you support a person because of their politics, or does moral character even matter anymore? Because if I don't know if you guys saw it, but last night on CNN, Allison was on, I don't know, I forgot her last name, but she was talking, Don Lemon called her out on it, right? And she literally gave the game away. She said the reason that she would want to vote for Herschel Walker over the Democrat is because she knows that he would vote against anything that would basically help women, women's reproductive health. So she doesn't care if she doesn't care if he paid for an abortion. She doesn't care if he's a liar. She doesn't care about any of that. All she cares about is, will he vote for the things that I want or don't want? And that's kind of where Republicans lie. It's stupid, but that's the way they are.
Right. I mean, the end goal is what they keep in mind. And you know what? That's the same thing that we need to keep in mind, that being our democracy, because they don't care. I mean, Dana
I
Loesch,
just
whatever her name is, gave the game away, as many of them have. It's about control. We don't, even those issues, some of them, yes, some of their constituents, they do care very strongly about it. But some of these political leaders, they don't care one way or the other about it. Some of them can feel totally different. But if it means winning, they will take and go with the game plan and the propaganda that's going to get them to the finish line.
So
I think,
here's my thing with Polsty. It is like around here, I've like literally heard this happening here now. Somebody got called for a poll, and the reason it caught my attention, because nobody's ever called our landline for a poll, right? But like, he was telling me, he was like, they were the abortion. There was a question about the abortion issue, and he was like, he told me he straight up lied, because his wife was standing right up there, was standing right behind him, and she's made it real clear, like, this is our position, and like, she's made his life a living hell is because of his political position, and he deserves it, right? Probably deservedly so. I mean, when you come knocking at my house at 6 o'clock in the morning and drink coffee because you can't get in the house, you know, you got problems in your household. But I think that the reason I'm bringing this up is, I think that, as we're looking at these polls, these are issues I think about, affecting these polls. Um, on the plus side of the five and the minus side of the five. And I'm thinking that this abortion issue is a lot bigger of an issue than what Republicans are counting on. When I see Bobart, like, I just like, she's kind of their little darling in that little area there, no matter what she says, right? She could say whatever, she could do whatever, and she's still like, she's theirs, right? And when I see the polls getting that close, I've got to be thinking that, like, there's a section of America that's just had enough of this. Like, you're falling in line because these are my rights now. I don't know.
right.
That's
Okay.
just
Yeah. So up next, we've got, well, Kevin has his hand up, but I have two new speakers up. So I'm going to go with Shauna and then Johnny and Destin. Destin, do you have a few moments? Just kind of popped
Just
in.
whatever.
Go ahead.
Whatever.
Then I'm going to go with Destin, Shauna, and then Johnny. How are you?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I
Yes.
had to leave the front office. They're cutting up. Um, Today has already been one of those type of days already. Um, this whole week has felt like Monday. But thanks for Shauna and everybody for holding it down yesterday. Um, her and Bobby and respect. I mean, trying to coordinate multiple candidates from multiple states and in different time zones to try to speak and answer questions. Honey, you did the best you could. And if anybody says something smart, tell them to come talk to me because I'm ready to cuss whoever out. Because, you know. But this morning, I got to clean a little bit, but then I had to go talk to my retired teachers in one of my counties. They do like a district type thing, so it's District 5. It's where my opponent lives. He gave his little speech and ran off. Then we just talked about the struggle, about what's going on in the schools, what's going on in people's lives, what really affects them the most, and got a lot of smiles and head nods. But the funny part was our minority caucus chair for the state house said my opponent was a really good guy. He keeps his word and all that. And I'm like, I couldn't say a whole bunch of stuff out loud, but I was gonna rip him a new one after the fact. Cause how in the world can you be in leadership in the state house and give praise to a Republican? I do. That is running against a Democrat. It'd be different if he was unopposed. Um, so not all people that are in our party or even look like us may not be for us. Um, but I am gonna finish being productive for the day ish at work, and then I'm gonna see the kiddos in their first chorus concert because we forget I got doors to knock, but kids do come first. And just showing up to little stuff like that makes the kids' day. So I'm gonna listen to them sing, and I told them if they off key, I'm calling them out, and I will shut the concert down. We can't be singing a song and singing the words wrong off key. I cannot do it. I mean, in church, especially in black churches, they'll cut the whole choir off because we don't do that. I don't care if you're in the north, south, whatever. In black churches, it ain't happening. Ain't nobody singing off key. So I hope everybody has a fantastic day. Keep doing the good work. I'm gonna try to not say choice words. Um, Also, they still can't find my yard sign. Apparently, the city said they didn't take it down. Somebody is just out here, I guess, doing the work, trying to make sure that I lose. But the funny part is, like I always say, there was a guy who just Snapchatted me earlier, and he said, "Look at this hottie," and he took a picture of my card because I stuck it in his door. I'm like, well, I've been at your house weeks ago, and you now just seeing it. But that is what it's going to be all about: the door-to-door communication, and plus people seeing stuff like that and be like, "Oh yeah, he's been here already." So that's what I'm banking on because just like I just seen the polls earlier and I seen Lauren Boebert's polls like really close, people are done with this ignorance. And this state Senate candidate today literally said charter schools were fantastic and he homeschooled half his kids and all this other BS. And I have never in my life seen some people that are senior citizens. Well, besides my granny, they blood pressure shot up real quick. Like they were gonna cuss him. They were gonna be more ratchet than I was because everybody's sick of it. People are tired of people playing politics with their life, and that's what's gonna come down to. that, you know, if you care about a person and if you're there for them, that's what they're going to vote for. Because this other BS, in some places, they're going to put party loyalty to the side because they're over it. And maybe one day they might find a common sense Republican and then they will vote the Democrat out. But at the end of the day, we got to hope they vote them all out and then show them that we can govern at the same time. But everybody have a good day. I'm going to make sure these kids get where they're supposed to be and
All
try
right,
to do
Dustin.
something productive.
Well, thank you for keeping the kiddies on track and for, like I said, sharing your campaign journey with us. And we're rooting for you and hoping that today is a very great day on the campaign trail. And we're always honored when you take a little time out to come in and share your day and moments with us. So thanks again. We appreciate you so much. And I enjoyed hearing from you over in Sean's room as well last night. You did a fantastic job. And I hope that too helps to contribute to the amplification of your efforts and support. So next up, we've got Shauna, then Johnny, Kevin, and Graham.
Thank you. And I just want to thank everyone for showing up last night, and thank you so much for the kind words and all the support. Thank you so much, Dee, for letting me know right away that it wasn't recording, because I'm like, oh my gosh, there are already some people there. I'm like, oh my God. But it was a little hiccup, but it was just fine. I was able to get restarted without a problem, but I hate this app sometimes. But yeah, it was. I think it went pretty well, and so I appreciate everyone for coming, and I think it had a pretty I don't know. I think it went pretty positive. There were some chaos agents trying to infiltrate, and there were some people not letting that happen. So I appreciate everybody, and I was just saying last night, you know, the reason why I did this and to kind of spoke on it. You know, there's a lot of candidates who don't get any attention at all, and I think that happens a lot with Black candidates. And I know that a lot of times there's attention focused on races that seem, you know, winnable, and I get that. I understand, like, the goal of, you know, the party is to focus on races that we can win, but I think also that we have a lot of areas that need investment. You know, living here in North Texas, there's definitely some opportunity out this way where I live, and so I'm thinking that, you know, and it's not always, it doesn't necessarily mean it might be that candidate necessarily, but there's some room for growth out here, and I think there can be some investments made out here, and we can flip a seat out here, and so I think it's important to shine a light on all these areas, and I think that, you know, I think a lot of these candidates, you know, would do better if they had more attention, so that's what I wanted to do, and I also think having people running for state office helps as well, because a lot of the areas in the South have GOP governors, and there's GOP legislatures, so, you know, it's not enough to get a Democrat governor. You know, they're going to have to work, we have to get blue legislatures, too, to get something done, or get it close enough to blue as well, so, you know,
Or at least
I
get
think
some
it,
blue voices in there to stop some of the stuff
exactly,
that they may try to do. It's important
yeah,
to have that representation everywhere.
for sure. So that was the goal of last night, so I'm so happy that we had a very good turnout, and, you know, who knows, I might be able to do it again very soon. I don't know. Had a few people that I was trying to get in there, and they had conflicting events, and they wanted to participate, but they just couldn't make it, and, you know, they were very interested. So I don't know, I may be able to do something again soon. I know it's crunch time, and we have 32 days left, but I don't know. We may be able to put something together again very soon. So I don't know. I'll definitely keep you guys posted if I can. I don't know. So. But again, I thank you guys so much, though, for all the support on that so much. I really do appreciate it. And I did want to say something, though, about Herschel Walker in Georgia. I saw a post asking if Black people would vote for him if he was a Democrat, and I said no. I mean, he would never be the nominee. We're held to this impossible standard, and if you've noticed, all the Black nominees we've had or run for office, they have to be darn near perfect. So no, there's no way he would ever get anywhere close to an office if he was a Democrat. So, and that's why, that's why I'm extra protective of black candidates, kind of like what Tiff was saying. I'm going to have their back. And no, I don't agree with every single black candidate, Democrat that runs on everything, but we're held to an insane standard. I mean, Jamie Harrison, he's held to an insane standard. You don't hear people going after Tom Perez or any other DNC chairs the way they go after him, and the crazy way they talk to him. There was a thread last night, they were just going crazy after him. And I'm like, no, we're not, no one ever talked to anyone else like that. And so any position of power that black people have, they think they can talk to them any type of way. And I just, we just have this insane standard we're held to. So no, they can't, there's a certain way we are expected to conduct ourselves, which is fine, but we're not allowed any type of grace or anything like that. So that's why, I want a place that's why I wanted the space I had last night, and I don't have any, qualms about it, and so when someone asked that about Herschel Walker, no, he would never be a Democrat. We would never support him, and he would never be able to be a Democrat ever. So I just thought I'd shed some light on that. But that's all I had today. But again, thank you guys so much for everything. Thank you.
Well, again, thank you for
Shauna,
a job
wonderful job
well
last night.
done.
Yeah, no, that was really amazing last night. I learned a lot about candidates that I had no idea on a couple of them. So, yeah, I just wanted to throw my 2 cents in before D gets going. Go ahead, D.
hmm So up next, we've got Johnny. How are you today?
I'm okay. How are you guys doing?
Great, thank you.
Yeah, you know, I knew they were gonna pull this shit before the election, like the increase the gas prices. And and I'm just so tired of these low information voters that blame like the president for that. And as election day comes, election day comes closer, I get more. This always happens to me during elections. I always get nervous um, before that time, and like, I mean, I'm just I'm just so tired of these oil companies like trying to help the Republicans win, and I know there are a lot of low information voters out there. I just wish there weren't so many of them, and
Well, that's why we
that's
have the conversations that we do here every day, hoping that people even go out and have more. But it's interesting because I just caught a glimpse of a news headline on our local news talking about the gas prices, just with the information that they were going to be making some changes to production that would affect the prices. The price went up 3 cents for just overnight. So some of this is that gouging mentality that these fossil fuel companies and industries have. And I think that again, this ties back to our democracy. If we can get representatives in place who have more concern around addressing consumer protection and holding industries and agencies more accountable to just being fair about their pricing and thing, that would be a good thing. And we've seen them have legislation, making efforts to do those things, but of course, the GOP is not signing on with any of those kinds of things. And so it's important. But yeah, thank
yeah.
you.
I just want to say in closing, I'm just I'm just kind of getting more anxious because gas prices are almost $7 in here in California. And thank you.
Yeah, and it's okay, but just keep the faith.
Right.
That's all I can say. It's not anything that we can really control, but I guess the one solace that I do have is that we have an administration who does understand the price that average Americans pay for these things. And I would say that they seek to do everything that is possible to help ease the burdens. And we can just hope, like I said, we can that they will continue to do what they can to ease any possible burdens, and we give them an expanded majority so that we can make some more permanent fixes to some of this wealth gap disparagement, that's going on here with just some of our basic uh, life issues. So thank you so much for coming up and joining in the conversation today. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I hope that you're not shy and that you come back to visit us
Oh,
again.
yes. Thank you. Thanks for everything you do.
Well, thank you for being a part of that, because you guys are what really make it possible and that inspire us to continue doing it. So I do have.
Dee, are you there?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was talking again with my mic. So thanks, Johnny, again. Up next is Kevin, Graham, and then 2K and Marco.
So yeah, a good topic brought up there was focusing on those races that matter in D.C. Obviously, Senate and House and that, but we can't forget the less sexier contests of secretaries of state and attorney generals of each state, because those play into the election and our future voting rights as well. And if they try to overturn these elections, because we've already heard the nasty responses that come out of these people running for those offices too. Similar to what we hear from the extremist comments that come out of people like Mastriano. That he would just overturn the election, he would void out machines. So it's nothing that we shouldn't be aware of those races as well. They're just as important, and our state races are just as important, especially when you're in states like mine where it's majority Republican representation right now, and that has to change. Um, the gas pricing, I'm in agreement with everybody. I'm concerned about the prices as well, and it goes from a serious extreme in my area. It's like right near my house, it could be like 380. I go across town about a mile, 10 minutes over, and it's 20-30 cents less. And then I go over the line into New Jersey, it's another 40 cents less. But uh, Pennsylvania, they're on par with California for the highest gas taxes. That's what we've had, and we've been trying to get a reduction of that. The Republican legislature won't work with the governor to do it. They refuse, which is par for the course. So I just had a question. I don't know if Tiff dropped off here, but maybe somebody else can answer. But does anybody have any polling information on Secretary of State races throughout the United States? And where those are at?
Um, I don't know. It's a good question. And Shauna does some of that statistical diving, so she may know some. And I think Geechee is here, but it's a good question. I'll put it out to Tiff. She's not here now. She may come back later, but again, like I said, I do want us to continue to send her prayers and thoughts, because she just recently experienced the loss of an aunt. So I was
Sorry to
so
hear that.
happy. Yeah, so happy that she came in and shared with us today. So, did you have anything else? Because I don't see anyone else who kind of
Uh,
follows those kind of races. But I will DM her and a couple other people if you know.
not that I can recall right now, but if you don't mind, if you can DM me like the recording space from Shauna's event last night. I missed it. I'm sure. I don't know if you saw my post, but I wanted to attend and listen, but I had a good friend that invited me to go see Don't Worry, Darling last night, and that movie just freaked me out. So, but
Mm,
it
okay.
It's
was
in
a
the
good
nest.
movie, but it was just kind of bizarre.
Okay, well, Shauna just said it was in the nest, Kevin. So make sure you grab it. And guys, I'm telling you, you are definitely in for a very engaging treat. So thanks, Shauna, for that.
Thanks, Shauna.
And so up next, we've got 2K and I'm sorry, Graham, 2K, and Marco.
Takei can go.
Thank you, Graham.
Oh, hi. Bless your heart. I was going to say someone else could go before me. It's okay. I'm under the weather, and I just wanted to say hello. First of all, to give props to Shauna for the wonderful space and all of her hard work. I will definitely emphasize that. And I just love, if I may, I just love hearing Shauna's voice too, because then when I see her, she just so straightforward, and when I see her tweets, I hear her voice, and sometimes she'll just come through with a quick shut up, and I hear her, and I hear her saying it, and it really makes my day. I want to pick up on what Tiff said about Ohio being weird. That is my home state, and I can agree. And so, with the close race with Tim Ryan and the weird way they see things there, I remember we had some conversations about Tim Ryan not cleaving to Joe Biden. He knows what he's doing, and Joe Biden knows too. Again, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if Joe's on the phone with him saying, "Stay away from me. Keep my name out of your mouth. We'll talk after you win." I just actually,
Dark Brandon, I'm telling you, you just made me think about that hilarious clip that Renee introduced me to of him having a hot mic moment. But do go on.
oh yes. See, that's just it. And the other thing that I'm that thank you for that clip was lovely because he's been around a long time. People forget that. And I do think Dems are in array. I think there's this recognition that people have short memories. As we get closer to the election, I do believe, and let's face it, Joe and Kamala are working. They are working. So, they're not out doing a lot of the lifting when it comes to the races. I think that will happen. I have no doubt. And they will hit and give some good, powerful words, including addressing any gas pricing, gouging, what have you, because the bottom line is this: they have done a lot. And the deal is give us more and we will do more. And I believe that they will come through with that message in a pointed fashion when it counts. I am convinced of that. We can take, if someone wants to bet with me, we can do that. But I believe that it will roll like thunder, and it will be part of what makes a difference. We also have the hearing coming up. People might not be necessarily even convinced about right or wrong, but I heard Eugene and others say, let's face it, the country is sick of this. The only thing that it's really a maggot minority. The only thing they have going for them is hatred and bitterness and bile. And it's really a minority of people who are on that trip. They get a high off of it. Someone broke that down to me and explained to me that they are really fundamentally just that evil. And the orange malignancy, the orange monstrosity feeds that. But with the Roe decision and so many other things, I think that polls notwithstanding, I'm fascinated by what happens, but I also I love what was said earlier about, things are wonky, times are off. Who knows how things are actually being counted? I'm putting my faith in the work that has been done, the record that we have to demonstrate, and the fact that bottom line is GQP done messed up bad, bad. So I'm putting,
The
unless
cat's
they
out of the bag on all of them in so many different
every
ways.
single one, not to mention, and people were talking about Herschel Walker earlier, more's coming out with that. More's coming out with that. And that's just one race, what have you. That one is really close to my heart because I refuse to believe that Warnock will not prevail one way or another. But that's just an aside. But thank you for letting me speak. I appreciate it. And I will land my plane.
Well, thank you so much. I am so glad that you came in and shared with us. And I too have a feeling and a belief that Warnock will be victorious.
Hey,
But
Dee,
yes.
I want to point out somebody that is always in our space. He doesn't often speak, but Paul Lee actually got featured on Chris Hayes last night.
Oh,
I
that's
don't know if
awesome,
y'all saw
Paul.
that.
um, that is awesome. I appreciate that. I do visit Paul's timeline, so that's awesome. Congratulate. Is he in here now?
Yeah, so
Oh, you
Chris
know what?
Hayes,
He changed his Abby, so that's
yeah.
why I didn't. Okay.
It's because he called him I think a rascal or something like that. And so Paul's owning it. He's like, okay, I'm a little rascal, which fits Paul. I mean, he is a little rascal. I like that.
Well, that's awesome. Anytime messages for DMs can get amplified, I am all for it. And we've talked
Well,
about that earlier about having conversations because Dr. A mentioned that there are people who actually live there who are not um, understanding and paying attention to what's going on. So it's important always to be having these conversations outside of these spaces as well as in. You never know who's going to be. Um, the recipient of some fresh news that could, change their mind about something.
I've been in a lot of conversations, Dee, lately that like, um, I'm just surprised that people willing to listen to me right now. And I think we may find that, but kindness works. I'm kind of a gruff person sometimes, but kindness really works. I think that, there's a lot of America that, they get conned, man. And, nobody wants to admit that they were wrong. Nobody. I mean, it's like, that's really hard for humans to do that. And I'm finding kindness with them. If it happens, man, and leaving it at that with them, and allowing them to like start talking about truth without having to dive too deep into how wrong they were. It seems to be not every time, but we all have these conversations that we're out and about, and like if there's a time to swing, now's the time.
Absolutely.
I
So,
love your stories about you doing these ride shares and the drivers that you talk to and other people that you talk to like that. I mean, that's very effective. That one-on-one, there's no ad on television or radio or even on the internet that can be played that has more of an effect than that one-on-one experience with another human being. It's
well,
still that way.
yeah, and I find that you just kind of, as I think the best campaign strategy and strategists are the ones who are meeting people where they are, where you get a feel, and that's where you start the conversation.
Oh,
So,
I'd lose interest in it when a candidate says that their campaign is internet and ads and whatever, and it's not door knocking. Like I lose complete interest. Like when somebody says, "Hey, I got a team that does that," that's cool. But if you're not out there listening to the people knocking on those doors, you've lost my interest as a candidate, and that's why I love Dustin and several others that Shauna had in there because they really understand that factor of how important that is to the people. I mean, they're getting tired of that slick ad lying to them. We
well,
don't know
even
what
in
the
going
rest of
to
it
the
does.
door, it's also about like you can have a canned speech, but it's a difference in someone coming and just like regurgitating this speech or whatever, as opposed to it. I mean, you have your talking points, but it being crafted to the concerns and the issues that or you learn that are relevant to that person. And I feel the candidates, some of them just have a very natural ability to do that, and I think that's important. So anyway,
One last thing is I've been watching Trump's little thing over there for the last couple of hours. This guy is freaking out. I mean, like seriously freaking out. He's like I think he's about ready to blow a gasket. Good news.
well, yeah, we should be so lucky. I'm sure that once he does, we'll see evidence of it all across the skies, no matter where we are in the country. So, thanks for keeping us posted. Marco's up next, and then Graham. And we're getting to the wind down phase of our conversation today. So if you're listening in the gallery, thank you for being here. Please remember to share, retweet the space because it is recorded for those who maybe not haven't been able to make it. But this is also a time for you to come up and join in the conversation before we start to close out. And for anyone who is here up on the stage, raise your hand if you would like to have some closing thoughts as well. So go ahead, Graham.
Well,
I'm
thank you.
sorry.
Oh,
Who it was Marco
Go,
actually, and then well, you
go
let
ahead,
TK
Graham,
go.
since you called me out.
Hmm.
I said, go ahead, Graham, since you called me out on invented, discovered versus invented.
hey, it's what's Twitter's for, right? It's what it's for.
right, no doubt.
Yeah, Shauna, you weren't in the room when I spoke first, but I wanted to just congratulate you on your space. And I just see so much potential in getting people and candidates together to have a discussion. And I just think, in the future, I hope you do one. And, you could talk about specific things and then, wrap it up and then ask for donations. And I think, we also have to share these. You can take little sound clips of these discussions. So, you know, um, you can sort of make a timestamp during these discussions and then make a little clip of something that you want to share. So I just really see a lot of potential there. So it was really, and I've been doing presentations for 30 years with technology, and you can always rely on the failure of technology when it matters most. That's what I learned. And but yeah, it was really good, and I see a lot of potential. The other spaces we talk about how media is failing and failing to communicate the issues and the candidates, and I just see this as a way to, the grassroots to fill that void and take care of business. So congratulations. And I also want to say thank you to Dr. Abrams for discussing, that mental health issue. And we got to find the compassion to confront these topics. There's so much ethics involved in discussing these things, and that's why a lot of doctors and psychologists don't speak out because it's against their ethical guidelines. It's a violation of their professional code of ethics, and I walk a fine line because I'm not bound by those parameters. So I could shoot my mouth off with science, but a lot can't speak freely. So, and I know a lot of scientists that don't speak, will refuse to speak with media and journalists because they're afraid that what they say, the journalists will twist or put it in the wrong context or frame it totally incorrectly. So, yeah, I'm glad that we got to talk about mental health, and I like what Eugene said about the kindness. And if you could just right now, people, there's just so much on the line, and I think things are clear as day, and people are starting to wake up little by little, and just lead with compassion and kindness. And sometimes, I've changed a lot of minds, and sometimes, you can just plant that seed right now, and it'll happen. And I like that, the next election, 2024, spaces could be a very powerful tool to, get some of these candidates that are running now, and, they may not win, but their name's there. It would be good to know if they're willing to, you know, go the long haul for the 2024, because I think that, if a super majority in the House, I think would be attainable. Just what America's going to be discovering with January 6th and some of that shenanigans going on. I think this is going to get uglier with the realities of dealing with the Supreme Court and the the destruction that they're creating. So I think 2024 is we just got to keep pushing, and that would be the goal. So I love the spaces and supporting these candidates. Some of them follow me, and but it's really great, and you know, I'm optimistic heading in. Obviously, the hard work is yet to be done, but yeah, thought I'd throw that in there. And Marcos, I hope you have fun with your new toy.
Hey, real quick before Marcus, I want to break in and something that's coming up on my radar that they're starting to catch people trying to escape being in the Russian military. They're starting to pick them up, trying to get into Alaska across that Bering Strait. Which this bothers me in the sense that that Bering Strait's nothing to play with. I've been up on it and like it's deadly. And these guys, like the two that they intercepted, or the one that I'm reading about right now that they intercepted was just a small boat, very small boat.
Is Sarah
And
Palin up there taking care of business, or?
yeah, I don't know, but like this could turn into a real catastrophe real quick. I hope they get a handle on this, but it just shows the desperation that young men in Russia are starting to display in their pursuit of getting out from underneath the thumb of this guy. Anyways, carry on.
Marco, you're up next.
Good afternoon to everyone. Time is flying. I can't believe it's after 3 o'clock already. It seems like you just started this space. So, but Shauna, again, you did a great job yesterday. That space was great. Um, a lot of information. You gave them exposure. We got exposed to them. And keep up the good work. You're a boss. You're a boss. Well, okay. Now back to the oil price. I mean, not oil price, but the Saudi Arabia cut and oil. That doesn't take place until November. Thank God. I hope it takes place after the midterm.
Well, I
But
know, but just the news, that's what I'm saying. They
yeah,
said when it was going to happen, but even with that news, there was some increases here locally, and I think that is, attributed to
gouging.
companies gouging because
Yeah,
they know that people are being primed to expect a little increase, so they're going to, kind of help it along and, take advantage.
right. Right, and they're doing it, and they said they're doing it because they expect a global recession, so they're cutting demand. So I guess they can still make the money that they make. So less supply. You
Right.
know,
Fish was in here. He gave us a pretty good
yeah,
explanation of that, and I know you understand that too. I mean, so you can understand why, but like I said, you also know that this is one of the issues that has been and will continue to be used in their economic push, in their messaging, against
yeah,
Democrats. So we need to
yeah.
have, understanding of it and to be able to explain
Mhm.
that in a way that, it's accurate and makes sense.
Oh yeah, I mean no doubt, no doubt. But Biden is telling his cabinet to look for alternatives. You know. To include dealing with people who we don't want to deal with. So that's on the table too. Chevron, right now, is waiting for the word. So, so hopefully it won't be a big deal. It won't impact our prices that much, in the short term or in the long term, you know. And plus, he's going to release, oil from the strategic reserves. So, I think we'll get through it. I think we'll get through it. Biden is an old pro.
He is. He's juggling a lot of things and he's doing a fine job. He
Yeah.
and Madam Vice President.
Did you guys just see his announcement?
Which one?
Here, let me read it real quick. First, I'm pardoning all prior federal offenses of simple marijuana possession. There are thousands of people who have previously convicted of simple possession who may be denied employment, housing, or educational opportunities. As a result, my pardon will remove this burden. Second, I'm calling on governors I'm calling on governors to pardon simple state marijuana possession offenses. Just as no one should be in federal prison solely for possessing marijuana, no one should be in a local jail or state prison for that reason either. Third, we classify marijuana at the same level as heroin and more serious than fentanyl. It makes no sense. I'm asking uh, Sec Becerra and the Attorney General to initiate the process of reviewing how marijuana is scheduled under federal law. I'd also like to note that as federal and state regulations change, we still need important limitations on trafficking, marketing, and underage sales of marijuana. Sending people to jail for possessing marijuana has upended too many lives for conduct that is legal in many states. That's before you address the clear racial disparities around prosecution and conviction. Today we begin to right these wrongs. There you go.
That's great news.
That's our president right there. Everybody worry about their marijuana. He's fixing it. It still doesn't mean like you can't drive semi trucks and be stoned, right? Like there, now the regulations will start to happen, and that is a state issue, right? States have their own ways of doing that, just like they do with drunk driving, and that's what I want to see is but for smoking a joint that you went to prison for that, like it
Right.
needs to be pardoned. And how many, and he's right, like how many lives that actually affected, where they couldn't get housing, they could, all these different things that you can't participate in the government with because you smoked a joint. Like, and all these white people that smoke joints, like, my first like big eye opener on that was over on the peninsula here in Washington. When I was a kid, there was a big gathering of all these politicians up in the mountains with this paper editor, and I got invited because I was providing power to them, right? And I mean, these were like, they were Republicans and Democrats, and they're all up there smoking joints. And I went, yeah, okay, you know what I mean? It's been a yeah. They all get to do it. How come all my friends out on the reservation went to prison?
Right. Are they looking to legalize weed in Tennessee?
Well, he's legalizing it federally now, right? So
No, I
it's
know.
not quite it's not legal federally, but they're reclassifying it, and he's removing,
Right.
like, federal prosecution of this. I think they
Right.
have to
But
pass
I
a law to make it, legal.
right. But I thought I heard I heard that they were trying to do something in Tennessee as well. Dee, are you there?
I am.
Did you
So,
hear about weed legalization in Tennessee?
well, they're trying to, with
And,
the hemp, they're trying to do it
uh,
for medical marijuana and then hemp laws, and it's still in flux. Like, probably now, about 5 years or so, they actually had a referendum and it passed, but then all of the legislature, messed around with it until it kind of just went away, so to speak. It not ever really resolved. At one point, there was an
uh,
understanding that people with caught with certain amounts wouldn't be prosecuted, but it's been on the agenda for a long time. We're just not real far along, but it's getting closer.
right. Oh, okay. I thought I heard that. Okay.
So we do have a few hands up. So did you have any other points? Thanks for letting us know about that, Eugene. And
No,
Marco,
I think this is big news. I mean, these are good things for the election, right? Because this is like, it takes it gives some more ammunition, and because this is wanted on both sides of the aisle, right? This is something that's wanted so this is something for all of America that he could have done. Like many of us have said in here, this is not the most important issue, but it helps.
Right. Right. I remember saying that actually. Yeah, I'm
okay.
Johnny. Thank you.
All right. Well, we have got Khalil who has come up, so it's going to be good to have him here this evening before we close out. But Jima Riri came up. I'm going to hear from her. then Shauna, Graham, and we'll start to wrap up. Give Eugene an opportunity to give us some closing thoughts, and we'll hear from Khalil.
Hello, is it my turn?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good afternoon. Eugene, you stole my thunder. That's one of the reasons I just put my hand up is that I had also gotten an article saying that Joe Biden was doing marijuana reform and that federally he was pardoning everyone. And I just want to point out that this is the great work of our Vice President, Kamala Harris, who helped Biden to do this. And I think we really need to give her that credit. When we were speaking earlier about Stacey Abrams, let's remember what the Republicans did to Hillary Clinton for how many years? Was it 8 Benghazi investigations that she was cleared from? So everything that they did to Hillary, they're going to come 10 times as hard as they have on our wonderful vice president. They keep trying to attack her. They're doing it with Stacey Abrams. Any woman who's leading, who is more than overqualified to help us make progress, the GOP goes after. And they go after them hard and for years. And it's important as women that we start realizing this, especially the majority of my white women. You literally are empowering these predators to keep us down. And when you do that, you're doing it to your daughters, you're doing it to your grandchildren. And Stacey Abrams has spent her entire life working to help Black people just to be equal in America, especially Black women. And as a white woman, I know how hard it is in America to be a woman, but as a Black woman, it's got to be 10 times harder. And again, the biggest gift white women could give America is to let Black women lead. They have taught us strength, they have taught us courage. They have been oppressed the hardest since this country started. And look at how far we've come with their leadership. So I really wanted to give these women credit because I don't feel like they get enough credit. And again, Biden said everything he does with VP Kamala Harris. So I wanted to throw that out, and I keep encouraging and grabbing people to vote. Vote Democratic all the way up and down. You can have a great governor as a Democrat, but if all your legislators in that state are GOP, they can't get anything done. So with that, thank you, Dee. Shauna, that was absolutely phenomenal last night. Bobby was phenomenal. And your other co-host, I'm sorry, I can't recall the name. You guys did a fantastic job last night. I have goosebumps right now because you are literally, imagine what this is going to do in 2024. You are phenomenal leaders, and I hope that within the few years, I see you leading America and your states and doing this phenomenal work. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Gina Riri, for coming up. And it is correct. I mean, that's why there was, there is a K Hive and BP, because we understand like what they have done, what their playbook is, and they don't really change it. Their targets may change from time to time, but we're aware. So that's how we stay on top of it and continue to combat it. And I just appreciate you saying that. But we understand what they're doing and why, and we're just going to keep fighting back. And the thing that terrifies them most are strong, smart, intelligent Black women. So
Absolutely.
there you go. So thanks so much. Glad you came up and joined the conversation today. Next up, we're going to hear from Shauna, and then I'm going to give Eugene an opportunity to give us some closing thoughts and hear from Khalil. I'm glad to have you here today.
Thank you, Jimali, for the kind words. So I wanted to speak on what the president was doing. I think it's a great start. I don't know the stats on like the marijuana like charges like in the federal prisons. I know that there's like 45% of people in prison for nonviolent charges or like drug offenses in federal prisons, but I don't know like what drugs those are. So he did mention that the states will have to do their own thing, and that's where a lot of people, are incarcerated at. So, and some states are stricter than others. So, here in Texas, I mean, we have like the biggest, system in the we have the biggest incarceration system in the United States, even bigger than California. So I don't see Abbott doing anything if he sticks around. So another incentive to get rid of him. I know that Beto would do something should he win the governorship. So I hope that the states do follow suit with what the president's doing. But I think it is a good start. So I just wanted to mention that, and that is all. Thank you so much.
Thank you for saying that, Shauna, because it's pretty much the same, I feel, in Tennessee. It's clear that I think the majority of the population would like that to happen, but we have, this is the buckle of the Bible Belt. So some of that going on. They just had a local bill, being passed about vaping in certain facilities or whatever, and they're just no matter what's passed on a federal level, it's still dependent upon that state legislative body as to whether or not they allow their constituents to reap the benefits of that. And as you alluded to, Shauna, with the large incarceration rate there in Texas, Tennessee has a very large one too. I don't know where they stack up statistically, but just know that we have, if not, it's one of the top three, and it may be second, maybe one, I don't know, largest private prison systems headquartered here. So they're not trying to, get fewer people out in jails or allow any out. But thank you so much, and we'll continue to keep an eye on it. And again, I think it does offer some talking points or messaging for people who want to come with some of those stupid one issues, which to me don't matter if we don't have a democracy, and I think many of you, but it's good because we just see how this administration is continuing to address the concerns of most people, and there's a party who doesn't care about the concerns that people just control. So there you have it, another example. So Eugene, would you like to give us some closing thoughts before we hear from Coel?
Oh, it's been an interesting day. I, I think that Democrats are doing the right things to get elected. I Republicans really shot themselves in the foot with this um, rights to body issue, and I think that I'm watching these polls and they're really interesting to me in the perspective that I'm a guy that I do not trust polls at all. I mean, like nothing, but you can get feelings off of them, right? And I just like I have a lot of hope for America right now. I think that we've got a lot of work to do before now and those elections. And as we have seen, just like on their side, bad things happen. Or come out or whatever, be prepared that these things will, most of the time they're made up from their side, but these things are going to start happening as we get closer and closer, as they get more and more desperate and realize just how weak of candidates that they have, in comparison to as a prime example, Shauna did a great job last night, Bobby, and um, that was really well done, and it's really needed. We need to start highlighting, um, from across America, these candidates that are willing to go in and stand up for we the people, and not for who's their biggest donor. Um, and that tends to be those grassroots candidates, and why I'm so interested in grassroots candidates. One of the things that I didn't like hearing last night was how many of these are struggling financially. That there's some really good voices that I heard in there that they should not be thinking about the financial part. They should be thinking about how to get to the next door, right? And I just like I think that what the what Shauna is doing and what people like her are doing are really important for that factor. We got to figure out how to start filling these coffers of these are all really important. I don't care if it's running for mayor right now. They're all just as important races in my mind, because they're trying to stuff on the other side of that spectrum. They're trying to stuff in people that like what is happening to Dee's cousin, right? I mean, these guys are just straight up coming out, I'm racist, and what are you going to do about it? And I'm willing to, like, not do democracy so that we make sure we stay in power. This is happening all across America. So every one of these races are critical. Are they all going to be one? I don't know, and probably not. But man, if we could get a portion of them in there, that's that much better for America, right? And like Dee always talks about, that long journey. This is not a journey of this year or this election. This is a journey of a lifetime. And many of us like didn't realize that journey was happening until a little bit later on in life. But I am amazed at the tenacity and the abilities of people in this community that just continue to astound me with their in, intuitiveness to understand what is needed at the moment, right? Like, everybody has talents, but like putting that talent to use at that proper moment is a gift, and I honor those gifts. So thank you, Shauna. And Dee, you as always, you know, you, you do a wonderful job here, and I'm proud to walk this journey with you.
Well, thank you so much, and right back at you. So I am
Oh, and one more, Khalil. I look forward to hearing what you're saying, and like, I hope the room understands. Khalil goes first, or goes after me, because I am not following that guy.
well, thank you so much for that. And so, Khalil, how are you this evening, this afternoon?
Hello, everybody. How you guys doing? I'm well, T. I'm well. Just busy, like you all are. Juggle several things at one time, and I'm not really that good at it. Um, so I just kind of try to do the best I can and hope for the best outcome. To be honest, but I love to just kind of listen in to your room. James' room has become my daily. Um, a daily exercise for me in terms of just trying to stay aware of what's going on around us because there's so much happening all the time. Since that guy, the former guy, became president, it seems like everything is, our lives turned into and become episodic. Every time you turn around, there's something new happening. Give me one moment. Wait, hold on. You can hear me better, can't you?
Yes,
Yeah.
you're fine.
Yeah, that I use the earpiece, and sometimes I get little DMs telling me I'm muffled, and I keep telling them that's because my voice is muffled. But that's another thing. So I just I really want to celebrate if you guys don't mind the effort yesterday by Shauna and Respect and Bobby, but certainly the effort to bring folks into our community that perhaps most of us will not have an opportunity to vote for, but just the exercise of bringing everybody together and showing that we are forced to be reckoned with, win or lose. It was just an amazing effort, Shauna. It was just terrific to me, and that's kind of what happens is that we don't know what's going on. We don't know that people are striving to be difference makers and trying to change, have some say, trying to figure out how they fit in the world. And then we hear it all yesterday. We hear these voices, both men and women, you know, uh, who really want to be part of that. And we see a lot of grifting on here. A lot of folks who claim to care about what's happening in our community, in our society, but in the final analysis, you don't see anything. You don't see anything of substance from them, which generally tells you what's really going on. And I'm just really excited about just how far we've come. I mean, if you go back 11 months, We were all excited about the fact that we got rid of the former guy. We were still kind of glowing in that even 11 months ago, but we all knew we had to do something. We had to be engaged in some sort of way to move us forward. And so Eugene, you and Deke start this room, start this space. Other people were in the midst of doing things. They were doing things before, but it just seemed to me it all kind of came together to create this community. Again, where everybody doesn't agree with everybody, but we know that on November the 8th, we'll all be pulling a lever in the same direction. We know that. And so I'm just excited about, just that progress. And I bring it up whenever I can because I think we get so stoked and so caught up in what's going on around us that we forget how far we've come. And then I think it's important to understand that you need that reference to not just figure out where you are right now, but where you're going. You need to know how far you've come. You need to know that there was deliberate efforts put in place to create these conversations, to create these safe places, to create these, to have these honest discussions. And as Bobby and Tamina says, these uncomfortable discussions, or the barbershop, or whatever other places we come together to meet and have discussions. And I want to be that, at least that voice, and given the opportunity that both Dee and Eugene give me here, which I don't think I'll ever live up to, but I just want to be that voice to remind us, history is my, and because I've learned that history has been it's been an anchor for me personally, but I also learned that it's an anchor for us, and we're repeating so many of the things that we thought we'd never repeat again. And I know you all have been watching Ken Burns' effort to bring this home to us, and Rachel Maddow is getting ready to start something, and I believe in next week. Again, whatever you think of any of these people, there's nothing wrong with getting information. I listen. I even listen to, I even listen to Fox. As much as my stomach can take it, and I can you hear me all right? Because I just okay.
Yeah, just the second you just bleeped out, but you're back. But
I want to know, especially when something happens, which these days is just like every other half hour. I want to know what their perspective of things, because that's what I know I'm going to have to defend. That's the position I know they're going to take, and what I'm going to have to defend our position from that perspective. So yeah, I listen to everything, I read everything I get my hands on, and I still try to do that and keep it, stay productive as a professional in my role, which is another reason why I feel compelled to retire, because I really want to focus on, at this point in my life, you know, being a difference maker, and because my season as in the work that I've been doing for 50 years has come to a close. So it's time now to enter a new season, and that new season is for me to really target the communities and things that mean the most to me. Not that others don't, but working with young people has been my work. And even though my life's work, and even though I'm very happy with what I've been able to do, and I believe achieve. Now I want to target my energy because my time, and I don't mean this in any morbid way, but it's limited. And so I know that I need to direct my time and my energy in very specific ways. So developing a leadership program for young people is very important to me. And so I'm being able to do it here in the DMV, both in Baltimore and DC is my target. Those are my target audiences. So, and I have a lot of people who, contrary to popular belief, who agree with me, and who I'm going to be partnering with to bring those things about. So, Shauna was inspiring yesterday, to see what you were trying to do. And and see how you were touching the rest of us and making us feel and understand the importance of doing something. And what you were able to do yesterday, in a very quiet way, was show that we're all doing something, that people are doing something. I don't know how to even find this information out, but I have to suspect that this year may be the largest black um, uh, candidacy, for local and state offices, perhaps in our history. I'm willing to put money on the fact that for an off season, for an off year, it may be. I'd probably put money on that because I don't think we've ever seen anything like this. And you just brought that home to us the other day. I mean, yesterday in particular, and just hearing those different voices, what they had to offer us, you know. The young brother from Texas that's not far from you. I can hear the novice in him, but I often hear the enthusiasm and the courage that that's necessary to want to do that. They all were channeling our ancestors, our forebears. All of them were doing it. All of them were channeling that. Though they didn't really speak directly to it. Um, um, I could hear the voices of people like Fannie Lou Hamer and people like John Lewis um, and others there, and it was just really, really heartwarming to hear that, and for us to come together as a community, not as, black folk, white folks, men or women, but as a community, as people, who care about this country and want to be difference makers. So this is a powerful moment for us. For me, it's intoxicating because I'm getting high off of listening to these things from folks. Because frankly, I haven't heard this since I was a child. I have my moments. We've had our moments, but when I was a child and watching those folks sitting in my mom's living room, planning a rent strike or a protest and stuff, and I don't think I fully understood. I know I didn't fully understand all that they were engaged in, but I could feel and frankly smell the courage that it took. And I was thinking about what Brother Marcos shared with us today in his tweet about just think about the courage it must have taken for young folk in the 40s and 50s and 60s, to just get out there and protest when they knew literally their lives were at risk. I mean, just think about that, folks. Just think about that. When I hear these young brothers and young sisters say to me today, that we let them down or that we didn't do what we're supposed to do. And I go, you have no idea. And that's when I know that they're also ignorant, history ignorant, because if you know anything about our history, you know about the sacrifices made on our behalf. And that the very path that we're walking right now, right up to this superficial argument about reparations that many of them are engaged in, that path was made by those young brothers and sisters that were integrating schools and protesting in the street and challenging orthodoxy, just not routinely every single day. People like Sister Denise, I mean, I'm really proud of that part of my life, but I also know that I was a beneficiary of the work that people were doing in the 50s and the 40s and the 30s, people all the way back to the beginning of the last century, folks who struggled in the 1800s, those men and women, those men primarily, who tried to make Reconstruction into a viable time for us, those people who built Greenwood and Springfield. Those people are my role models. They're also my motivators. They're my inspirations for getting up every morning and trying to make a difference. And I do get up every single morning with a prayer that I'm somehow I'm moving us forward. And that I'm an example and a model for that, not just for my children, but for my family, for my community, and for my friends. I do. I'm corny that way. So I'm just saying as you know using, and I'll say this because I believe it to be true, that, Dee and Eugene set a standard. They started us on this road. They're just their persistence. They're come showing up every day, to create this atmosphere for us, this opportunity to talk to each other, that modeled for everybody else. Everybody else has come behind them or was there with them. We can see the measure of what it means to be committed to something based on the model that they've set. And now others are doing it, or others now are being able to at least look at their example and expand what they were doing even previously, because certainly, people like Renee and Tiff and others were certainly having spaces, but I think that there was some organization that maybe it was, not just the standard that was set, but, with all that Renee is doing, or Tiff and others who are engaged, Sean and all of them, being able to come home, maybe that's what you guys created for us, is some place to come home to, so at 1:30 every day, we can come home and we can just listen down in the gallery, or we can engage in a discussion, and so on. And, I think we need home right now, considering the fact that the man that previously occupying that office did everything he could to divide us, did everything he could to destroy our venerable institutions. They're already under duress, right? But he's done everything he can to do that. A man who is doing everything he can to stoke basically a civil war, a battle, you know, um, being able to find some place to come and be around like-minded people. That's kind of why people go to church every Sunday. They're looking for like-minded people. So we get to go to church in some sense every day here with you all Monday through Friday. So um, I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for that. I hope you all are. I hope I am really thankful for the comment that I don't know who it was. I don't remember who it was. But I was talking about, the vice president's influence over this administration may be quiet, but it's clear. If you're paying attention, these were none of Biden's issues, that we're seeing. The decriminalization of marijuana has begun at the federal level. That has begun. That is that the horse is out the barn there. So now we got to see what both folk on the right and the left have to say about this. And then again, you'll be able to separate the wheat from the chaff by paying attention, because the people who really are interested in progress and moving us forward, are going to look at this and recognize the effort and what he was trying to do. Everybody knows that marijuana laws are state regulated, outside of the federal realm. So a lot of these first time law, a lot of these people have been affected in states like New York or here in the DMV and stuff. They get to take a deep breath right now. He's removing those ridiculous impediments off their record. He's pardoning them, not clemency. It's pardoning. It's a big deal. We're going to learn more about this throughout this day and go throughout this week, because there's serious implications of this, very serious implications. And there's been governors looking for leadership from the federal realm to figure out how to do this, and he just gave it to them. So I'm beginning to see the team that both the president and vice president have become. I mean, that the best team for me, the all-time favorite team, is always going to be Biden and, of course, former President Obama. But this team is clearly showing, its value and its worth. And anybody that's disappointed in what the current president and vice president is doing isn't paying attention. They have another agenda. You can criticize them, and I certainly will and have, but I don't criticize his effort. I don't criticize his sincerity, and particularly for a politician, that's not easy for me to say. I think the man cares. I think the man gives a damn, and I think he's showing it the best he can. Now, I've said it many times. Biden wasn't even my fourth choice, but when he won the primary, after I listened to my elder in South Carolina tell me that this man was worth voting for, because I do stuff like that. I listen to other people, and then I did my own homework and recognized that my biases toward Biden were 1978, 1972. They're not 2022. I worked through those things. And when he won the primary, he became my president. He became my nominee. He became my president when he won the election. And he has not disappointed me in the least. Not in the least. But I cannot imagine sitting in that White House right now with all the things, all the daunting challenges he faced. Who could do that? Who could do that? I mean, think about it. If you're a president, put yourself in his position. Every single day, there's not like a little crisis. There's these huge crises, and everybody's trying to get your attention. And you got to sift through that to try to figure out what the priorities are to move forward. I'm saying it's not what people say; it's what they do. At the end of the day, I'm paying attention to what he's doing, and I've been not just happy about it, but I'm impressed, given the limitations. He's president, not dictator. So today was an interesting day. I mean, I invite you all to pay attention to the decriminalization, at the federal level, because that's the beginning of it. And it's really, they're not going to call it decriminalization, but I'm telling you, that's what it is. Anybody that's been following, and I've been working in that area for a very long time, and looking at what it is that we're doing, just to position that to what we're doing, what we did, what we were a part of last night with Shauna and Respect, and of course Bobby, and what we're talking about today when we come together. Just think about, that's what community is. We may not be in the inner circle of Joe Biden, but we're in that circle. Right? We're in that circle. We're trying to save this democracy. We're trying to save the world as we know it. And not only that, but we're trying to make it better. We're trying to live up to the ideals of this nation as it was originally drafted. And that's a pretty daunting responsibility. But it's one we've had since we were born, and now it's one we're responsible for as adults. So let's push forward. We know what we got to do. In fact, I'm following your lead. I'm listening to things that I can't do a lot of stuff that Sean is doing because my time is limited. But y'all better watch out for me next year. When I don't have this work, I don't have this clock to kick into and all these responsibilities. Now will say that don't get too excited because I'm a magnet for work. People will, I ain't gonna be sitting in a big chair in the house here with the biggest piece of chicken. That ain't gonna happen. But my wife already looking at me funny, like you're not retiring before me. So let's just say that ain't the fate, that it ain't a fait accompli yet. So but I am super excited about what I'm a part of here. I'm super excited of knowing people like all of you, seeing you all. I'm super excited about the model that Dee and Eugene and Shauna and others have made. I'm super excited about the voice of people like Marcos and certainly and people like Graham, who every day try to add something to the commentary, and what Tiff has been doing here. I can literally see it here in the DMV, and I just would never have met you guys otherwise. I might have run into Tiff in some of the circles that I run into. Well, not since COVID, probably not, because I ain't doing a whole lot of hanging out with folk. But really, we would never have met each other if it had not been for Eugene and Dee giving us this opportunity to meet each other. And we're from all over the country and all over the world. And so I just want to, if I can, inspire you to take advantage of this and believe in what we've done and what we've created here and find your place in it. That doesn't mean you got to be out here doing door to door or doing phone or, that just may not be your thing, but find something to do. I'm going to be an election judge. I made that decision last year when they started threatening folk. It's kind of like that old machismo came out at me, like I dare somebody to try to tell me that I can't, I can't vote, and I dare them to tell somebody else they can't vote, standing out in front of the voting place and trying to intimidate somebody. And we ain't now ain't really what an election judge does, but I knew I needed to find my way into that process to support it in whatever way I could. And so I hope you all will do the same thing. They're looking for election judges. Most states have probably secured as many as they need right now, but you still try. Whatever groups there are out there that are going to be doing. If I wasn't doing this, I would be ferrying people back and forth to the polls. I would be doing that. I have done that. So I would, save up my money for gas and make sure I was taking people back and forth to the polls. I mean, whatever thing you can do, no matter how small, please, please do it, because that's where we are now. We are now in the participatory part of our citizenship. You cannot sit back on the couch and watch other people. The only time you get to do that is on election night, and some of us won't even be doing that then. But right now, you need to be sowing what it is that you want. You need to be modeling for the people around you, and I just want to not just inspire you, but I'm telling you, I'm expecting that what will happen. I believe y'all will do it. I believe you already been doing it. And if you're not sure what to do, then just DM somebody. You hear all these voices in here. Everybody got some ideas. Everybody got an opinion. That, right? So feel free to DM us. Certainly myself, and I will brainstorm with you to figure out where you fit in things. But right now, you can't be sitting at home and you can't be watching other people do the work. You got to be participating in it now. I just need to insist that people understand that right now. I'm grateful for you guys. I'm grateful for having this opportunity to be with you. I'm grateful for if you don't mind, just this position you guys have put me in as somebody that is worthy to be listened to. I'm grateful. I don't take that. I'm humbled by it. And I actually get, people actually listen to me. My wife is amazed she looks at me and goes, I cannot believe people listen to you. She's talking about my students and the people my clients and things like
You
that.
know the
Yeah.
saying, a prophet is
Uh,
without honor in his own land.
no, it's absolutely true. But see, that's the kind of thing that keeps me humble, is because, she knows who that, I get a swelled head, then it's going to be, it's going to get ridiculous up here. So I'm not built that way. Oh, sure I am. Everybody's built to get full of themselves. I'm just glad I'm surrounded by people who know how to pull the plate from me when I'm eating too much and talking too much. So thank you guys. Thank you, Dee. Thank you, Eugene. Again, I want to shine that spotlight on you, Shauna, because you pulled it off yesterday. I know you don't think it's perfect. It wasn't supposed to be. It was what it was. It was organic. It was real. It was empowering. It was encouraging. It was inspiring. It was definitely motivating. You hit every nerve there is yesterday. So, in my job, I think here was to confirm that for you. And others here too. They all said it to you, but you just probably fluffing it off. I know you. Nah, take it in. Now, don't get no big head, but take it in, because you're setting a standard for us, creating another reference. In fact, I kind of felt like you guys, you know, created a new zeitgeist yesterday. That there was a different mood and attitude that came out of that. I don't know how you follow that up, but there was something else there. So thank you all. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for listening to me. And I'm looking. Let's go, y'all. It's right around the corner, November the 8th. Thank you all. Thank you, Dee. Thank you, Eugene.
Well, thank you, Khalil, certainly as always. And the gratitude, of course, is a mutual thing. And yes, all of those things he said, Shauna, do take them in. And I know, you're going to be harder on yourself than anyone else. It's just the way it is. but please do accept that you and Bobby and it's respect is earned, did a fantastic job. It was Khalil, as Khalil said, organic. It's not. It wasn't meant to be perfect. Although we want our
And
things, but
I apologize for missing Respect's name. I apologize when I was thinking.
no problem. But it is the overall effect of what you accomplished, and it was. Just so engaging, and I just can't tell you how thrilled I was to see you guys do it and to see the engagement that it brought, because we've been getting to know each other for a long time. So I'm really grateful for you and others like you here in the community who have blossomed into works of your own. And I'm grateful to you guys coming here every day. Like, Khalil said, maybe you think of it a little as home. I hope you do, because we want to offer something here. But again, it's not about Eugene and I, what we personally um, have to offer, so much as it is a collective offering and gathering of all of us. It's kind of like a wonderful gumbo. All of us together make it awesome. And I'm so glad to be a part of this collective. And I'm just grateful for the opportunities to have great engagement and conversations like the one that Shauna created last night, like the ones I have, the opportunities I have here every day with Eugene and you guys. No 2 days are ever alike. And I'm grateful to the candidates that we have met in the course of doing this space. And I am inspired by their courage. And I am also inspired by the people who they have other jobs and, other work that they do, but their commitment and devotion to saving our democracy, and the team leaders that rise to the occasion and help, us know the fields and the areas that we need to work in, and to the workers and to the cheerleaders. Everybody has a role, everybody's playing a part, and we all understand how important it is. So I'm grateful for you guys every day that you understand that, and not only do you understand it and you talk about it, but you are about it. You walk your talk, and that's what I love about this community. And I can't tell you how grateful I am and how blessed I feel to have become a part of such an awesome group of people. So I want to thank you and leave you with these words from the late great Representative John Lewis, and they are: Do not get lost in a sea of despair. Be hopeful. Be optimistic. Our struggle is not the struggle of a day, a week, a month, or a year. It is the struggle of a lifetime. Never ever be afraid to make some noise and get in good trouble, necessary trouble. So I thank you guys for coming and getting in good trouble with Eugene and I every day, making the necessary noise that we need to, when we need to save our democracy. So I just want to tell you guys, I'm thankful for you all. Hope to see you back here tomorrow again, same time, 1:30 p.m. Eastern. It will be TGIF, and we can get messy because I think the music space has been scheduled and the subject has been named. Shauna, do you want to tell us what it is? And she may have stepped away. Khalil, what's the music space tomorrow?
It's jazz and blues.
Ooh, wow. I love that. Well, again, thank you as always. And you guys have given us something to look forward to, a great place that we have come to expect to kind of unwind after the week. And so I know tomorrow is going to be another awesome space. So looking forward to it. So again, thank you guys for an awesome conversation today. And I hope to see you back here tomorrow, and check out the all hands on deck text banking, phone banking workroom if you have some free time. I unfortunately will not be able to join you guys and help tonight, but I am working. I'm doing something. So just keep up the great work that you're all doing. And thank you for all the work that you're doing. Hope to see you back here tomorrow. And I want to leave you with peace and blessings.